So at the town hall meeting that you were talking about with the faculty and staff, you talked about the freedom of expression, and
Yes.
you described it as, quote, a value we all hold dear. But you also mentioned that freedom of expression can sometimes clash with the desire to create and foster that diverse and inclusive learning environment. Can you clarify what our institutional values are with respect to this issue, and whether there are any circumstances under which the college would prohibit a speaker based on his or her message?
That is an excellent question. There's so much gray here. And so the answers, there are a lot of judgments to be made. For those listening, you might wonder kind of how these values work or don't work together. There are different viewpoints. So some would say freedom of expression is all important, and that means that there's going to be some offensive speech, and that's okay. We just need to learn how to refute that or explain why it's offensive, be able to talk these things through. Others would say anything offensive should not be allowed in service of an inclusive learning community. Honestly, personally, I tend to err on the side of freedom of expression because I think it's so important and so basic, and I think our job is to help teach our students to be prepared for facing alternative viewpoints, offensive speech, and knowing how to respond to it. And I think we would be doing a disservice to our students to sort of wrap you all in a bubble and keep you protected, because that's not the way real life's going to be when you walk out of here. That said, you say, well, are there some cases where you just wouldn't allow it? And these are exactly the conversations we're having right now. I know they've gone on in Student Life Council. They're going on in President's Council. Our Faculty Council has been talking about these issues. Should we develop an institutional philosophy, a statement on this? Perhaps we should. One thing I do keep hearing is that, and I agree with, is that if something is clearly hate speech, threatening, no, we should not allow that. But sometimes there are some gray areas. So there are certain things, like we're not going to invite the KKK to campus, as an example. We would not allow that.
Obviously, yeah.
I mean, that's on one end.
Mm-hmm.
But then as you start, moving along the spectrum, I'm sure there are gray areas where we would probably disagree on whether or not we should allow someone to speak. So these are things that we're just going to have to continue to wrestle with as a community. One thing I got to say is, I'm sure many of our viewers have heard about what was going on at Middlebury last week, where Charles Murray was invited to speak, and he was literally shouted down, literally could not give his address, despite the best efforts of the president and the students who tried to introduce him, and received a lot of catcalling themselves. And I just find that to be so distressing. I hope that is never a situation that would occur at Gettysburg College, where we would have someone come in and not at least give them the courtesy to speak. We can refute those views. We can protest those views. You can mount a counter protest, but shouting someone down, to me, is not the direction we would ever